This is the 7th day of the April 90-7-day retreat at Springwater. And since we're reading from copyrighted material, the recording that is being made is for listening here, but not for sale. We'll read from the teaching of Wang Po and writings of Krishnamurti. Here and there I find a new selection, but most of the time these are selections that we've already heard before. Maybe someone new has not heard it. Actually, it's not the most important thing what it is that is being read, but the state of mind that is listening. Someone said this morning in a meeting, this mind is forever seeking to follow authority, to be influenced, that's what he said, to be influenced by authority. And being influenced means, doesn't it, following or reacting against it, or wanting to be like the one in authority, comparing oneself and all the effects that brings. So can the mind be in this state of listening, aware of the dangers, of being vulnerable? This book is called Zen Teaching of Wang Po, rendered into English by John Blofeld. The way it is being read is edited in that words, paragraphs, sentences, or part of sentences have been omitted. Sometimes a word changed from Sanskrit into English. The recording of these dialogues and talks by Wang Po were done by his disciple, who was a scholar in Buddhism and also governor of the area where Wang Po was teaching. And the dialogue which we're about to read took place about 1,000 years ago in China. Questioner: what is the way and how must it be followed? Wang Po: what sort of thing do you suppose the way to be, that you should wish to follow it? Questioner: what instructions have the masters everywhere given for meditation practice and the study of the truth? Wang Po: words used to attract the dull of wit are not to be relied on. Questioner. If those teachings were meant for the dull-witted, I have yet to hear what truth has been taught to those of really high capacity. Wangpo. If they are really people of high capacity, where could they find people to follow? If they seek from within themselves, they will find nothing tangible. How much less can they find a teaching worthy of their attention elsewhere? Do not look to what is called the teaching of the truth by preachers, for what sort of teaching could that be? Or what kind of teaching of the truth could that be? Questioner, if that is so, should we not seek for anything at all? Wangpo, by conceding this, you would save yourself a lot of mental effort. Questioner. But in this way, everything would be eliminated. There cannot just be nothing. Wangpo, who called it nothing? Who was this fellow? But you wanted to seek for something. Questioner. Since there is no need to seek, why do you also say that not everything is eliminated? Wangpo, not to seek is to rest tranquil. Who told you to eliminate anything? Look at the void in front of your eyes. How can you produce it or eliminate it? Void means everything without a name or reaction. Seen with a mind that is not naming or reacting, but open and vulnerable. Question says, do you mean we should not form concepts as human beings normally do? Wangpo, I have not prevented you, but concepts are related to the senses, and when feeling takes place and concepts are formed, wisdom is shut out. Questioner. Then, should we avoid any feeling in relation to the Dharma or the teaching of the truth? Wangpo, where no feeling arises, who can say that you're right? Questioner. Why do you speak as though I was mistaken in all the questions I have asked your reverence? Wangpo, you are a man who doesn't understand what is said to him. What is all this about being mistaken? Questioner. Up to now, you have refuted everything which has been said. You have done nothing to point out the truth teaching to us, or the truth to us. Wangpo, in the truth there is no confusion, but you produce confusion by such questions. What sort of true teaching can you go seeking for? Questioner, since the confusion arises from my questions, what will your reverence's answer be? Wangpo says, observe things as they are and don't pay attention to other people. There are some people just like mad dogs barking at everything that moves, even barking when the wind stirs among the grass and leaves. One person said in a meeting, one could also say, observe things as they are and other people too, as they are. Because one gets the feeling when Wang Po says, don't pay attention to other people, means don't be influenced by teachings, by other teachings. But again, why not pay attention and find out for oneself without being influenced? If you now set about using your minds to seek mind, meaning the truth, the one mind that Wang Po talks so much about, if you now set about using your minds with a small m to seek mind with a capital M, listening to the teaching of others and hoping to reach the goal through mere learning, when will you ever succeed? All the concepts you have formed in the past must be discarded and replaced by void. In truth, there is no unalterable teaching which the Buddha could have preached. People of our sect would never argue that there could be such a thing. We just know how to put all mental activity to rest and thus achieve tranquility. We certainly do not begin by thinking things out and ending up in perplexity. Questioner, illusion can hide from us our own mind. But up to now you have not taught us how to get rid of illusion. Wang Po, the arising and the elimination of illusion are both illusory. Illusion is not something rooted in reality. It exists because of our dualistic thinking. If you will only cease to indulge in opposed concepts such as ordinary and enlightened, illusion will cease of itself. And then if you still want to destroy it, wherever it may be, you will find that there is not a hair's breadth left of anything on which to lay hold. This is the meaning of, I will let go with both hands, for then I shall certainly discover the Buddha in my mind, or truth in this mind. What is called supreme perfect wisdom implies that there is really nothing whatsoever to be attained. If you're able to understand this, you will realize that the way of the Buddhas and the way of devils are equally wide of the mark. The original, pure, glistening universe is neither square nor round, big nor small. It is without any such distinctions as long and short. It is beyond attachment and activity, ignorance and enlightenment. You must see clearly that there is really nothing at all. The great chilocosms, numberless as grains of sand, are mere bubbles. All wisdom and all holiness are but streaks of lightning. None of them have the reality of mind. Mind is one. How can it lack a single hair of anything? When we talk of the knowledge I, in quotation marks, may gain, the learning I may achieve, my intuitive understanding, my deliverance from rebirth, my moral way of living. Our successes make these concepts seem pleasant to us, but our failures make them appear deplorable. What is the use of all that? I advise you to remain uniformly quiescent and above all activity. Do not deceive yourselves with conceptual thinking, and do not look anywhere for the truth, for all that is needed is to refrain from allowing concepts to arise. So, full understanding may come to you only through an inexpressible mystery. The approach to it is called the gateway of the stillness beyond activity. If you wish to understand, know that a sudden comprehension comes when the mind is purged of all the clutter of conceptual and discriminatory thought activity. Those who seek the truth by means of intellect and learning only get further and further away from it. Not till your thoughts cease all their branching here and there, not till you abandon all thoughts of seeking for something, will you be on the right road. Questioner there says, at this very moment all sorts of erroneous thoughts are constantly flowing through our minds. How can you speak of having none? Wangpo, error has no substance. It is entirely the product of your own thinking. If you see that mind is the Buddha and mind is fundamentally without error, whenever thoughts arise, you will be fully convinced that they are responsible for errors. If you could prevent all conceptual movements of thought and still your thinking process, naturally there would be no error left in you. Therefore it is said, when thoughts arise, then do all things arise. When thoughts vanish, then do all things vanish. And in listening to this is the first thought that arises, give me a method to banish all thoughts. Or what can I do to banish these thoughts? There's no doer, there's only seeing them. The doer is more thought. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception, sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding will you awake to the truth. When you happen upon someone who has no understanding, you must claim to know nothing. He may be delighted by his discovery of some way to enlightenment, yet if you allow yourselves to be persuaded by him, you will experience no delight at all, but suffer both sorrow and disappointment. What have such thoughts as his to do with the study of truth? Even if you do obtain from him some trifling method, it will only be a thought-constructed thing, having nothing to do with truth. Truth is something never lost, even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Ah, it is a jewel beyond all price. When a sudden flash of thought occurs in your mind, and you see it for a dream or an illusion, then you can enter into the state reached by the Buddhas of the past. Not that the Buddhas of the past really exist, or that the Buddhas of the future have not yet come into existence. Above all, have no longing to become a future Buddha. Your sole concern should be, as thought succeeds thought, to avoid clinging to any of them. But how can we prevent ourselves from falling into the error of making distinctions between this and that? Wangpo? By realizing that though you eat the whole day through, no single grain has passed your lips, and that a day's journey has not taken you a single step forward. Also, by uniformly abstaining from such notions as self and other, do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but never withdraw yourselves from them. Avoid the error of thinking in terms of past, present, and future. The past has gone, the present is a fleeting moment, and the future has not yet come. When you practice meditation, sit in the proper position, stay perfectly tranquil, and do not permit the least movement of your minds to disturb you. This alone is what is called liberation. Ah, be diligent, be diligent. This discussion, or excerpts from it, are taken from The Wholeness of Life by Krishnamurti. It's the last part, number 3. Krishnamurti talks with a small group at Ojai, drawn from the Krishnamurti schools and foundations in Canada, England, India, and USA. Questioner. Can we discuss the relation between Krishnamurti's teaching and truth? Can we discuss the relation between Krishnamurti's teaching and truth? Questioner 2. Is there such a thing as a teaching at all? Or is there only truth? Krishnamurti, I will just say K. Is it the expression of truth? The question was, is there such a thing as a teaching at all? Or is there only truth? And K asks, is it the expression of truth? There are two things involved. The speaker is either talking out of the silence of truth, or he is talking out of the noise of an illusion which he considers to be the truth. Questioner, that is what most people do. K, so what is it that he is doing? Q, there could be a confusion between the word and truth. Okay, the word is not the truth. That's why we said either he is talking out of the silence of truth or out of the noise of illusion. Q. But because one feels that he is speaking out of the silence of truth, there is a greater possibility for the word to be taken as the truth. Okay. Let's go slowly, for this is interesting. Who is going to judge? Who is going to see the truth of the matter? The listener? The reader? You who know Indian scriptures, Buddhism, the Upanishads, etc., you're familiar with them and know most of the contents of all of that. Are you capable of judging? How shall we find out? You hear him talking about these things, and you wonder if he's really speaking out of this extraordinary silence of truth, or as a reaction, and from a conditioned childhood, and so on. That is to say, either he is talking out of his conditioning, or out of the other. How will you find out? How will you approach this problem? Questioner. Is it possible for me to find out if what is meeting that teaching is the noise within myself? Okay, that's why I'm asking you. What is the criterion, the measure that you apply so you can say, yes, that is it? Or do you say, I don't know? I'm asking what you do. Or don't you know but are examining, investigating? Not whether he's speaking out of silence or conditioning, but you're watching the truth of what he is saying. I would want to know whether he was speaking out of this or out of that. But as I don't know, I'm going to listen to what he is saying and see if it is true. Questioner. But what sees it as true? Okay. Say one is fairly alive to things. One listens to this man and one wants to find out whether what he says is mere words or the truth. Questioner. When I have come to the conclusion that it is the truth, then I'm already not listening. When I've come to the conclusion that it is the truth, then I'm already not listening. Okay. No, I don't know. My life is concerned with this problem. Not just for a few years or a few days. Would you like some water? Kay says, I don't know. My life is concerned with this problem, not just for a few years or a few days. I want to know the truth of this matter. Is he speaking out of experience or from knowledge, or not out of any of those things? Most people speak out of knowledge, so we're asking that question. I don't know how you would find out. I'll tell you what I do. What I would do. I would put his personality, his influence, all that completely aside. Because I don't want to be influenced. I'm skeptical, doubtful, so I'm very careful. I listen to him, and I don't say I know or I don't know, but I'm skeptical. I want to find out. Questioner. Skeptical means you're inclined to doubt it, which is already a bias. Okay, oh no, I'm skeptical in the sense that I don't accept everything that is being said. Questioner. But you lean towards doubting. It is negation. Okay, oh no. I would rather use the word doubt in the sense of questioning. Let's put it that way. I say to myself, am I questioning out of my prejudice? This question has never been put to me before. I'm exploring it. I would put everything aside. All the personal reputation, charm, looks, this and that. I'm not going to accept or reject. I'm going to listen and find out. Am I prejudiced? Am I listening to him with all the knowledge I've gathered about him, about religion, of what the books have said, what other people have said? Or what my own experience tells me? Let's go over this again. I would put everything aside. All the personal reputation, charm, looks, this and that. I'm not going to accept or reject. I'm going to listen to find out. Am I prejudiced? Am I listening to him with all the knowledge I've gathered about religion, what the books have said, what other people have said, or what my own experience tells me? Questioner. No. I may be listening to him precisely because I have rejected all that. It's easy to say that, right? You reject all that. Kay says, have I rejected it? Or am I listening to him with all that? If I have rejected that, then I'm listening. Then I'm listening very carefully to what he has to say. Questioner. Or am I listening with everything that I already know of him? Okay, I have said I put away his reputation. Am I listening to him with the knowledge that I have acquired through books, through experience, and therefore I'm comparing, judging, evaluating? Then I can't find out whether what he's saying is the truth. But is it possible for me to put aside all that? I'm passionately interested to find out. So for the time being, while I'm listening at least, I will put aside everything I have known, and then I proceed. I want to know, but I'm not going to be easily persuaded, pulled into something by argument, cleverness, or logic. Now am I capable of listening to what he is saying with complete abandonment of the past? It comes to that. Are you? Then my relationship to him is entirely different. Then I am listening out of silence. This is really a very interesting question. I have answered it for myself. There are a dozen of us here. How would you answer it? How do you know that what he is talking about is the truth? I'm not reading the whole thing. You can do that. I don't know. We used to have the book. Somebody may have taken it along. But we'll go on. We're not finished yet. Later on, Kay says, Dr. Bohm and I had a discussion of this in a different way. If I remember rightly, we said, is there such a silence which is not the word, which is not imagined or induced? A silence which is not the word silence, and it's not imagined silence or induced silence. Induced through a practice, mantra or whatever. Is there such a silence, and is it possible to speak out of that silence? Questioner says, the question was whether the words are coming from perception, from the silence, or from memory. Kay says yes. And this is undoubtedly Bohm. The question is whether the words that are used are communicating directly and are coming out of the emptiness, out of the silence or not. Okay, that is the real question. Bohm. As we used to say, like the drum which vibrates to the emptiness within. The drum that vibrates to the emptiness within. Okay, yes. And again, boom. I think I could say to him that when we discussed these things, it was from the emptiness, and that I felt it was a direct perception. Okay, yes. Is a direct perception unrelated to logic? Bohm says it doesn't come from logic. Okay, but you're logical all the same. Bohm says that may come later, not at that moment. Okay, so you're telling me I have found out that man is telling the truth because I had a direct perception, an insight into what he is saying. And he says, yes. Okay, now be careful, because I've heard a disciple of some guru exactly saying the same thing. Boom, I have also heard a guru say this, but a little later, by looking at it logically, I saw the thing was nonsense. When I was looking at the fact and the logic, I saw that it did not fit. So I would say that in addition to direct perception, I have constantly examined this logically. Okay, so you're saying that perception has not blinded you, and with that perception goes logic also. Questioner, yes, logic and fact. Okay, so through perception and then with logic, you see that it is the truth. Hasn't this been done by the devout Christians? And the questioner says, logic is not enough, because we have to see how people actually behave as well. I see that Christians say certain things, but when we look at the whole of what they do, it doesn't fit. Okay, isn't there a terrible danger in this? Q, I'm sure there's a danger. Okay, so you're now saying that one has to walk in danger. Q, yes. Okay, now I begin to understand what you're saying. One has to move in a field which is full of danger, full of snakes and pitfalls. Q, which means one has to be tremendously awake. Okay. So I have learned from talking to him that this is a very dangerous thing. He has said you can only understand whether Krishnamurti is speaking the truth if you're really prepared to walk in a field which is full of pitfalls. Is that right? Q, yes. Okay, it is a field which is full of mines, the razor's edge path. Are you prepared to do that? One's whole being says, be secure. Q, that is the only way to do anything. K, I've learned to be aware of the dangers around me and also to face danger all the time and therefore to have no security. The inquirer might say, that's too much and go away. So this is what I want to get at. Can the mind, which has been conditioned for centuries to be secure, abandon that and say, I will walk into danger? This is what we're saying. It is logical, but in a sense it is illogical. And Bohm says, in principle, that is the way all science works. Okay, yes, that is right. So it also means I don't trust anybody, any guru, any prophet. I trust my wife because she loves me and I love her, but that is irrelevant. Boom. The word danger has to be explained too. From one point it is dangerous, and from another it isn't. I have to investigate. My conditioning is very dangerous. Okay. So we are saying, I have walked in danger and I have found the logic of this danger. Through the perception of the danger, I have found the truth of what K is saying. And there's no security, no safety in this. whereas all the others give me safety. Boom. Security becomes the ultimate danger. Okay, of course. Boom. What you have described is actually the scientific approach. They say every statement must be in danger of being false. It has been put that way. Okay, that is perfectly right. I have learned a lot. Have you? Here's a selection from a book called Krishnamurti to Himself, his last journal. When he wasn't writing anymore, he was asked to speak into a recorder. And this was recorded Monday, April 18th, 1983, in California, in Ojai. It is a new day, and the sun won't be up for an hour or so. It is quite dark, and the trees are silent, waiting for the dawn and the sun to rise behind the hills. There ought to be a prayer for dawn. It comes so slowly, penetrating the whole world. And here in this quiet, secluded house, surrounded by orange trees and a few flowers, it is extraordinarily quiet. There are no birds as yet singing their morning song. The world is asleep, at least in this part of the world, far from all civilization, from the noise, the brutality, the vulgarity, and the talk of politicians. Slowly, with great patience, the dawn begins in the deep silence of the night. It was broken by the morning dove and the hoot of an owl. There are several owls here. They were calling to each other. And the hills and the trees are beginning to awaken. In silence, the dawn begins. It gets lighter and lighter, and the dew is on the leaf, and the sun is just climbing over the hill. The first rays of the sun are caught in those tall trees, in that old oak that has been there for a very, very long time. And the morning dove begins with its soft, mournful call. Across the road, across the orange trees, there is a peacock calling. Even in this part of the world, there are peacocks. At least there are a few of them. And the day has begun. It is a wonderful day. It is so new, so fresh, so alive and full of beauty. It is a new day without any past remembrances, without the call of another. There is great wonder when one looks at all the beauties, those bright oranges with the dark leaves, and the few flowers bright in their glory. One wonders at this extraordinary light which only this part of the world seems to have. One wonders as one looks at the creation which seems to have no beginning and no end. A creation not by cunning thought, but the creation of a new morning. This morning, it is as it has never been before, so bright, so clear, and the blue hills are looking down. It is the creation of a new day as it has never been before. There's a squirrel with a long, bushy tail, quivering and shy in the old pepper tree which has lost many branches. It is getting very old. It must have seen many storms, as the oak has in its old age, quiet, with a great dignity. It is a new morning, full of an ancient life. It has no time, no problems. It exists, and that in itself is a miracle. It is a new morning without any memory. All the past days are over, gone, and the voice of the morning dove comes across the valley, and the sun is now over the hill, covering the earth. And it too has no yesterday. The trees and the sun and the flowers have no time. It is the miracle of a new day. We want continuity, said the man. Continuity is part of our life. Continuity of generation after generation, of tradition, of the things we have known and remembered. We crave continuity and we must have it. Otherwise, what are we? Continuity is the very root of our being. To be is to continue. Death may come, there may be an end to many things, but there's always the continuity. We go back to find our roots, our identity. If one has kept one's beginning as a family, probably one can trace it generation after generation for many centuries, if one is interested in that kind of thing. The continuity of the worship of God, the continuity of ideologies, the continuity of opinions, values, judgments, conclusions. There is a continuity in all the things one has remembered. There is a continuity from the moment we are born until we die, with all the experiences, all the knowledge that man has acquired. Is it an illusion? What has continuity? That oak, probably 200 years old, has a continuity until it dies or is chopped down by man. And what is this continuity which man wants and craves for? The name, the form, the bank account, the things remembered. Memory has a continuity, remembrances of that which have been. The whole psyche is a memory and nothing else. We attribute to the psyche a great many things, qualities, virtues, ignoble deeds, and the exercise of many clever acts in the outer and inner world. And if one examines diligently, without any bias or conclusion, one begins to see that our whole existence, with a vast network of memories, remembrances, the things that have happened before, all have continuity. And we cling to that desperately. The squirrel has come back, has been away for a couple of hours. Now it is back on a branch, nibbling at something, watching, listening, extraordinarily alert and aware, alive, quivering with excitement. It comes and goes without telling you where it's going and when it is coming back. And as the day is getting warmer, the dove and the birds have gone. There are a few pigeons flying from one place to another in a group. You can hear their wings beating in the air. There used to be a fox here. One hasn't seen it for a long time. Probably it has gone away forever. There are too many people about. There are plenty of rodents, but people are dangerous. And this is a shy little squirrel, and wayward as the swallow. Although there is no continuity except memory, is there in the whole human being, in the brain, a place, a spot, an area, small or vast, where memory doesn't exist at all, which memory has never touched. It is a remarkable thing to look at all this, to feel your way sanely, rationally, to see the complexity and the intricacies of memory and its continuity, which is, after all, knowledge. We'll read that again. It's a remarkable thing to look at all this, to feel your way sanely, rationally, see the complexities and the intricacies of memory and its continuity, which is, after all, knowledge. Knowledge is always in the past. Knowledge is the past. The past is vast, accumulated memory as tradition. And when you have trodden that path diligently, sanely, you must inevitably ask, is there an area in the brain or in the very nature and structure of a human being, not merely in the outer world of his activities, but inwardly, deep in the vast quiet recesses of his own brain, something that is not the outcome of memory, not the movement of continuity? The hills and the trees, the meadows and the groves will continue as long as the earth exists, unless man in his cruelty and despair destroys it all. The stream, the spring from which it comes, have a continuity. But one never asks whether the hills and beyond the hills have their own continuity. If there is no continuity, what is there? If there is no continuity, what is there? There's nothing. One is afraid to be nothing. Nothing means not a thing. Nothing put together by thought, nothing put together by memory, remembrances, nothing that you can put into words and then measure. There is most certainly, definitely an area where the past does not cast a shadow, where time, the past or the future or the present has no meaning. We have always tried to measure with words something that we don't know. What we do not know, we try to understand and give it words and make it into a continuous noise. And so we clog our brain, which is already clogged with past events, experiences, and knowledge. We think knowledge is psychologically of great importance, but it is not. You can't ascend through knowledge. There must be an end to knowledge for the new to be. New is a word for something which has never been before. And that area cannot be understood or grasped by words or symbols. It is there beyond all remembrances. We will end here for today.